Welcome to the 74th Hunger Games. I got over 100 people to simulate the 74th Hunger Games for a prize of 25 USD. 50 tributes were selected to compete and fight one another until there was only one standing. In addition, there was 50 civilians. These people will be able to vote on very important decisions to crucially alter the outcome of the game. Players are given no rules and only one life each. Corruption, betrayal, deceit. The rest of this journey was completely up to them, an insane story you don't want to miss. I present to you. Before we start, I want to mention this video is heavily inspired by Ish13C and Magicum. Also credit to Arathon and his team for building this map. If you want to participate in events like these in the future, make sure to subscribe and join Discord server, link in description. To start off, we got all 50 tributes placed into pillars surrounding the cornucopia, which is filled with good loot. Once we gave the go, all tributes would be released and a bloodbath would ensue. And with a clock counting down to 0, the event started. With over 200 chests scattered around the map, there was many opportunities to obtain loot, however middle was the most central location. Within the first few minutes, fights ensued across the map, leading to the death of many. As players spread out to find loot, teams began to form. Two members by the name of 0344 and 5390, or General, found each other and began to scour the map and hunt down weak members. These were very prominent members of the previous event. So if you haven't seen that already, go check it out, videos top right. In addition to this team forming, another powerful rival was beginning to form between two tributes of Sam Dow and Duke Entertaining. Both were kitted out with full iron armor and had control over mid. This allowed them to control a central part of the map and have easy access to food and fights. The only way for tributes to gain food was from chests and supply drops or murdering other tributes. Seeing this as an issue, the citizens voted to have a supply drop land with much needed items including food and iron. 60% of the citizens voted in favor of the proposition, and we decided to set up a drop. Some of the first players to get the drop were Crepper and Drem. However, they spent too long having a stare contest that someone else was able to slip by and loot the supply drop. I mean, look at these two lovebirds, they're so happy. Mocker99 and his teammate Renegade Mango were able to loot the supply drop and leave before anyone else noticed, and these two lovebirds decided they didn't love each other anymore and Drem killed Crepper. In order to make use of the iron that they found at mid, Mocker and Renegade needed to get to middle in order to craft up their items. However, there was an issue. Sam and Duke still had control of mid and were the most stacked team by a long shot. So, they created a plan. Mocker and Renegade were able to get to mid. Their plan was to use one of them as bait to draw out someone and then destroy them from both sides. They used the help of a third party to chase out Duke Entertaining from middle and solo out Sam. Saving this opportunity, Renegade and his teammate engaged Sam. Renegade got separated from Mocker and Sam was able to take out Renegade in time before Mocker could return. Mocker was not far behind and jumped Sam. But at the sight of Duke Entertaining coming back to save his teammate, Mocker decided to take his life while he could and fled. Somewhere in the middle of the forest, many more interesting things were happening. For one, sponsorship. One of the citizens' mechanics was to choose sponsors. If someone was chosen to become a sponsor, they would receive much needed items whenever they so wanted. However, in order to choose a sponsor, 60% of the citizens had to agree on one person to sponsor and send the items to them. The citizens had to vote on 3 tributes to sponsor over the course of the event, and this was the first time they chose one. The first tribute to be sponsored was Tobuscus Jr., with the citizens voting 32 and 18 in favor of sponsoring him. The reason was because he was well known in the community and many players wanted to support him. With Toby receiving his loot, night started to fall and day 1 was officially over with only 20 players remaining. To start off day 2, I decided to do an event to spice things up. I was going to do an event called Bounty Hunter. Without telling them what it was for, I had the citizens vote on a random player. The player they chose was 5394, or General. I put a bounty of $5 on General's head to whoever killed them. So whoever killed General received $5 in cash whether they won the event or not. With this, he's also glowing bright yellow, and he would have his codes publicly announced every 2.5 minutes. However, there was a large upside for him. If he was able to win the event, he would receive double the money, so $50 if he won the event. Many people were incentivized by this prize and started to hunt him down. One of those members was Toby, the previous sponsor. However, as he was hunting General, he got ruthlessly murdered by a squad, and all of his sponsor items went to waste. In the wake of Toby's death, the citizens decided to vote on another person to sponsor. They chose a team of 2 members by the name of O'Trempy and his teammate Isaac Boy 505. They were heavily undergeared with leather or chainmail at best. But with this, they now had one fleeting hope to win it back if they were able to get to mid and craft up iron armor. The only issue was Sam and Duke were still at mid. Even with Renegade's attempt to destroy that, they still had full control of mid and full abilities. So they decided to bide their time and wait for an opportunity. With teams being spread out all across the map, I decided to shrink the border. This would have forced players closer and closer towards the middle and forced an engagement. As the border shrunk, teams became very, very close, virtually on top of each other without noticing. Then, I decided to do another offer. The bounty with General was still going, but no one seemed to be able to find him, or of the interest to try and kill him. So, I decided to spice things up and potentially break some teams. If any tribute was able to kill anyone within the next minute, they would receive very powerful items such as Protection 3, Gapples, and Diamonds. This could be their teammates or any random enemy. However, something I did not expect took place. The most powerful team of Sam and Duke, who had collectively murdered 1/5 of the lobby, had decided to create a plan and reap the benefits of this event. Following through with their plan, they were able to successfully kill another player and receive the items. However, the tribute they decided to kill was Duke entertaining himself, Sam's only teammate. Duke sacrificed his life in order to give Sam a better hope, because eventually they knew they could only be one winner. So Duke sacrificed his life in order to give Sam a fighting chance to win. Currently the whole world seemed to be against Sam, with everybody viewing him as the #1 target due to how stacked he was in the position he held. Now alone, many teams took this opportunity to try and catch Sam off his guard. Among them, 0344 and General's team took this opportunity to loot Duke's body and engage Sam. However, shortly after, 0344 fell to Sam's axe after not being able to escape, and General fled for his life. Then, on a rampage, Sam spotted O'Trempy in the trees and took chase. However, shortly behind Sam, O'Trempy's teammate Isaac Boy was racing against time to get to Trempy, so they both had a chance. Both of them were unable to get to mid and successfully use their items, and thus were heavily undergeared. Eventually, after a long chase, Sam gave up chasing and instead found a new target, General. Both were relatively evenly geared, but General still fled, unwilling to confront Sam head-on. With Sam so far from mid, O'Trempy and Isaac Boy were able to get to mid and successfully make use of some of their sponsored items, upgrading from leather to partial armor with some iron axes and swords. However, they were chased off once more by Sam and were unable to craft all the items they needed. With Isaac and O'Trempy successfully fleeing into the night, Day 3 had officially ended with 8 tributes remaining. The final day was upon us. Starting off on Day 3, we decided to ban teams as there was only 8 players remaining, and we wanted to make the game fair for everyone so everyone had a fair shot of winning. With Sam once more having control of mid, he began to make use of his items to become incredibly stacked with 3/4 enchanted iron armor and diamond leggings, the only enchanted gear and diamond gear in the entire game. However, Sam was exposed due to the openness of middle, and O'Trempy and Isaac were raining down hellfire upon Sam every chance they got. While teaming was banned, everyone could agree that Sam was the #1 target to kill due to how stacked he was. Throughout the next few minutes, there were skirmishes at mid, but to no avail. Nothing ended up happening, they both just ran and could not chase. Meanwhile, across the map, there was a fatal fight between 2 members. Both were very undergeared and not have good items, and resorted to scavenging all they could, but were forced to closer and closer due to the border closing. In the end of the fight, they ended up killing each other. With nothing actually happening and the player count being down to 5, I decided to enable DeathMatch. All players would be teleported to a small deathmatch arena that consisted of a fiery pit of hell, and undead roamed around as sentries guarding the loot. Amidst there stood one lone tower. Inside had a variety of loot, each containing arrows, fire res potions, and golden apples. He teleported all members in on their each unique corner, and with once again a countdown, Deathmatch began. With members released, they spread out and began to have bow duels as no one wanted to be the first to engage and get third party. Seeing his opportunity, Isaac went to loot mid but was shot into lava shortly after and murdered by his former teammate Trempy. However, Trempy was not able to hold mid for long as shortly after General came to mid. After successfully escaping with his life, it once more became a bow battle between Sam and him. Meanwhile, while running, General found another tribute hiding behind his spawn and proceeded to ruthlessly murder him. Meanwhile, somehow Trempy was holding his own against Sam even though he was heavily undergeared comparatively and didn't even have a shield. Returning back to fight, General began to fight in third party.
Nah, he was good.
Definitely getting teamed on.
And after some intense fighting, with a final blow, Sam had fallen to Trempy. Now it was Trempy the undergeared underdog versus General a renowned fighter and strong contestants. After chasing General away, Trempy was able to loot Sam's body, and now it was time for a final showdown with a relatively even gear on both sides. No running, no hiding, all the previous effort came down to this last fight to win $25. Seeing initial success, Trempy chased down General.
In for Trempy. Trempy's going in. Will he kill him?
Oh my god.
Oh, he got the bounty and he wins.
GG. With a final blow into lava, the event ended. Trempy, the underdog throughout the entire event, having only chainmail until the very end, was able to win both the event and claim the bounty on General's head. However, instead of taking the money that was rightfully his, he donated it to a cancer research institute. Maybe next time, you'll get to make the difference. But only if you subscribe and join Discord server, link in description.